Well, while I'm working on the garage floor that collapsed on me, that's a whole nother story. I'll have another video on that. I gotta look at this car and see what I gotta do. It's still over at my buddy Ray's house on the trailer. I haven't got it to my place yet. It's kind of frustrating. But there's a few things that I need to change on this car. I've been looking at it and thinking about it, and man, I've really been mulling this over in my mind. And these Gazelle kit cars kind of got a reputation for being what's called a Tupperware queen, because there's a lot of fiberglass there and not a whole lot of car. So a couple things that went wrong with this car when they made it, that they did that was, in my opinion, wrong, because it doesn't really match. This was supposed to be a 29 Mercedes replica, but if you've ever seen a 29 Mercedes, there's a couple of huge differences. Like right here, you look directly on at the wheel, and you can see right there where the grill is. If you look at a 29 Mercedes, the grill is clear back here, and the center of the front axle here actually is in front of the radiator. The other problem is at the other end of the car. Back here, you see this humongous box here. Well, the original just, it went like, about like that, right behind the driver. And then there was a tire that sat on that angle. Okay, and there's another issue with the car. You can see right here where the hump is, that's supposed to be centered over the wheel, and it's not, which would make this box stick even farther back, probably back to here. And part of the problem with that is, since the original car looked like that in the back and this one looks like that, you wonder why? Well, it's because this kit also was set up to work with a Volkswagen engine, and of course we don't have a Volkswagen engine in it. We have the Ford 302. But then that brings up another problem, which is right up here, this radiator. Now, I'm sure this radiator works just fine, but as you can see, the outlet on the bottom's on that side, and the outlet on the motor's on the opposite side, so that's a problem. Also, it's running into the body, so the body, since it gets narrower towards the front, cannot go any farther back. Okay, so to fix these problems, this is what we have to do. Okay, first let's take a look at the engine compartment. You can see there's a lot of room up here in front of the radiator. There's just a ton of room in front of the radiator, so we can take advantage of that. The only problem is this radiator, besides being set up, like I pointed out earlier, absolutely backwards, it is almost 2 feet wide. And so it's way too wide, and you can see the body's running into it here and on the other side, just the same. And so the body's actually forward too far, because it can't, it runs into the radiator. So I have to get a smaller radiator. Well, not necessarily smaller, but narrower. So I looked online, and a Model T radiator fits perfectly. And I can get a Model T radiator that's set up for this engine and fits in a Model T shell, and is only 18.5 inches wide, and that will fit right up inside the grill. So that allows me to bring the front end back a lot. However, to get past the center line right here, which is right now intersecting with the front pulley on the motor, I have to move the motor back about 10 inches, which I've got tons of room here. This cross member is in the way, but I can fix that. And the radiator has to move forward, and the body has to come back 18 inches. So if the motor moves back 10, and this moves back 10 plus 8, well, it'll be a lot closer, but there's plenty of room. That will mess up the factory fenders because they mount on these things, so I'll have to do something different for fenders, and I'm good with that. This bracket, this A-pillar, right here, it holds the brakes, which are going to become power brakes. And that whole thing has to move backwards as well. I'm going to move it back probably 18 inches because the pedals, the brake pedal down there, is going to end up too far away. I mean, as it is, it's almost too far away. I have a little bit of room back here to move the seats back, but I'm going to be changing the seats. So I'm probably going to be able to get at least 10 inches out of that. And this definitely has room to come a good 8 inches closer. It'll close that gap up at the back of the doors. So easier to get in and out. It's just going to solve a lot of problems. The only problem it's going to create is this bulbous back end. The problem it's going to create is this bulbous, big, huge, cover your Volkswagen engine plastic back end is going to be hanging way out here. And so guess what happens? I get out the Sawzall and just chop that bad boy right off, right where I want it. And I fix the back end to look just like it's supposed to, like that. I have room for the fuel tank back here, a little like a place to put a little overnight bag, and that's about it. And then I'll mount the spare tire up here at an angle like this on top of that angled platform. Then there is the problem with the drivetrain. I love the Mustang 2 front end. It's great. I can get parts for it. It's power steering. It's disc brakes. That's all cool. The only problem is it has a 4-bolt rim and it's got these cheesy fake spoked wheels. I do not like these wheels and they're rusty. The tires are in great shape. They're 14-inch tires. I am going to make this, instead of a 4-bolt, I can get from like a 95 Mustang, I think it is. They have the 5-bolt front end, and their spindles will hook right on here. It'll give me the 5 bolts, the slightly larger brakes, and I'll just have to get different rims. The back end is a Ford 8-inch rear end. I have no problems with the Ford 8-inch rear end, but this particular one right down here on the bottom is leaking oil like crazy. All that gear lube is just coming right out of it. It's an open differential, which it means it's got spider gears. It's not a limited slip. I want limited slip. So out of a Mustang, I can get, probably, you know, from the 90s, I can get a limited slip 5-bolt 8.8 rear end, probably 375 gears. That's usually what they had in them. That'll work. I'd rather have closer to 3.0 with this big of an engine and this small of a car, because as it is, this is going to be a rocket ship. And as you can see, there's a gap here where the body is hovering over top of the frame. Well, that'll give me room to make a floorboard that mounts with body mounts and is attached to the body. The body will lower down a little bit, perhaps. I don't know. I might need the room for the driver. We'll see. I'll work on that. That's an easy thing to fix. But I think with the new radiator, the new running gear, and moving the body where I want it to be, we'll have something really nice here. It's going to be an adventure. I hope you join me for the whole adventure, because it's going to be great fun. Another thing I have to do, all the rust, because this thing was in the process of being built. He painted everything white so you could see it, but he didn't put very thick paint on, and sitting in the barn and under the tarp out in the field, it rusted. So I have to sandblast the whole frame and repaint it. I'll pick a color at some point. Don't know quite yet what I'm going to do there. But anyway, I got to strip this thing down. I got to get it home, pull the body off, yard the engine out, move the mounts back, cut things out of the way, do whatever I need to do, make it happen. Oh, this is going to be great fun. This is going to be great fun.